Good evening. So today we celebrate the solemnity of the Holy Trinity, or Trinity Sunday, which probably in our modern day and age doesn't sound like that big of a deal. After all, who can really explain the Trinity, or for that matter, there's not a whole lot of thought in our modern time that's really given to the question of who they are any longer. A lot of that has been worked out. But at one point in time in history, it was the leading question, the big debate within the church. So I thought we could take a little trip back through the historical lane of our church and see how they answered the question. We actually remember their answer every single Sunday when we pray the Nicene Creed, which we will do right after I'm done here. You've heard it so many times throughout the course of your life. We have it memorized, and we just kind of blow right over it. But in that creed is the definition and the explanation of who God is. We believe in one God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, of all things seen and unseen. That creed and those words, which we pray in every Mass, comes from the early 4th century, in the 300s. There was a priest by the name of Father Arius in the Diocese of Alexandria in Egypt. It's always a priest. Arius was a good man and an incredibly effective preacher. And he began to propose a theory on how to explain the Trinity. He said that there is really only just one God, and he's beyond anything that anybody can understand. Time, space, he's supreme and absolute. And this God, beyond all things, produced the highest creature that exists, and that creature in the Bible is called the Word, or in Greek, the Logos. It's this Word, then, the firstborn of all creatures, and you can kind of see where he gets this in our scriptures this Sunday. But that Word was born into time in the man Jesus. In many ways, this solved a lot of problems for those trying to understand the relationship of Jesus to God, or who Jesus actually was, because it preserved the unity of God and the one supreme God in heaven, and it also paid a very high homage to Jesus, since it made him the highest of all creatures ever made, a sort of Superman, if you will. The explanation made so much sense, and it was such a debated issue at the time, and Arius was so good at explaining it, that it sped first through Alexandria, then through Egypt, then through all of the Eastern Empire. But it was opposed by some in the church who said that it simply did not grasp who Jesus was in the New Testament. That in fact, Jesus was divine. Not just the highest of all creatures, but equal to God himself, and was God himself. And it became so unbelievably heated within the empire that the emperor himself had to intervene. The emperor at the time was Constantine. And if you remember, he was the one that not only legalized Christianity after he conquered Rome, but he made Christianity the official religion of the empire. And so he couldn't have this unbelievable argument going on that would threaten the structure of the empire itself now that it had become Christian. So he called a church council, gathered the bishops of the world in a little town called Nicaea in the year 325, and he asked them to debate this explanation that Arius had given. And they did. And they came out against Father Arius, and they condemned his teaching, and subsequently condemned him. They said that the Word, or who Jesus is, became flesh in Jesus, the language that we repeat every Sunday, and we will here in a little bit, right? The Word was, or Jesus is, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, not made, one and being with the Father. So who is Jesus then? Jesus is God. And if you know anything as a Catholic, that is the most important teaching that there is in the entire Christian religion. Because if that is not true, nothing of what we believe is true either. But the Council of Nicaea recognized the full divinity of Jesus Christ. So we might sit back and say, all right, well, what about now? We believe this forever. We know that. Well, I think it's a really important point. Not only that we believe what they taught, but in our modern day and age, we're also faced with a massive faith crisis, just as they were in the 300s. We may not be debating the Holy Trinity, but we have many issues that threaten the salvation of many. And yet, as serious as they might be, just as Christ corrected the Arian heresy or false teaching and saved the church, believe it or not, the day will come when the issues of our time that seem so unbelievably insurmountable will also have been laid to rest and solved. And the people of the future will have learned from the errors of what many lived in our modern day and age. And our time, just like every time, will be nothing but dust in the wind for future generations. Hard to believe when you're in it and living it. But one thing is certain about life, especially seen through history, that the faith always survives and wins. And those who believed in the truth and lived it, even though they may not have seemed to be winning while they lived, were absolutely right in the end. And they are the ones that won.